Now, it's an even greater honour to have one of the most famous jockeys in Ireland, England, and perhaps the world. And I'm going to invite Michelle Duffy, who has been a treasured intern from the University of Limerick, who is going to conduct a short interview with Ruby Walsh, Ireland's leading jockey. And if you come up and casually take a pew up here, and Noel has 2 microphones. If you take the centre pew, and I might just join you as well. But I'll leave Michelle to begin.
And, I'm a huge fan of horse racing, and you're an idol to a lot of people, but from a young age, did you always know that you wanted to be a jockey?
From a very young age, well, horses were always in my life. My dad was a jockey, he was a trainer. I grew up in the stables, we had horses outside the door. Whilst I was never forced or directed into horses, it was something that I always wanted to do. And I guess when I was 12, 13, 14, I started riding. I couldn't get a licence till I was 16, so I got a licence when I was 16. But within Ireland, when you're 17, you sit into your leaving cert year, you're filling out CAO forms and college forms, and what do you want to do with your life? I personally think it's a bit young for people to be deciding what they're going to do with their lives, but I already knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a jockey, and I guess I was lucky.
You were one of the rare jockeys that actually went on to do their leaving certificate, most of the leave after their junior cert. Was that a decision you made yourself, or was it maybe a suggestion from your parents?
It was a decision my mother made that I had no say in. And I'm very grateful that I did do it. I honestly believe in education there's no cross to bear, and I think I learned a lot of things in school, simple things, accountancy. I was lucky enough to be able to do honours English, do a little bit of French. I think leaving school at 15, 16, like a lot of my colleagues would have done, they are boys heading into a man's world. And I was 18 when I left school and went to work for Willie Mullins, and while you're still a boy, you're a bit more mature than the 15-year-old. And I do think that I would encourage all younger jockeys now who come and look for advice to finish school and do their leaving cert. And the only regret I probably do have is that I didn't maybe go to university for a year. I did break my leg and go with my now future wife and spend 3 months in the college bar in UCD, and it was great crack, and I would have maybe liked to have gone to a university, although with the level I had in school I was more likely going to be at an IT than a university, but it would have been nice maybe for a year to have experienced student life.
As you said, your dad was a jockey and a trainer. Would he be your biggest influence, or are there others?
I'd say both my parents. My dad would have influenced my career. My mother would have influenced my life. She would have a very, I suppose, not so much strict regime, but manners would be a huge thing in our house. Always has set a good example. And I guess both my parents would have influenced a lot of things I've done in life. But as regards my riding career, yeah, my dad would have been. Jockeys, in a sense, are quite unique to most other athletes. I mean, you listen to Pádraig Harrigan talk about his work with Bob Torrance, and Tiger Woods with his coach, and Andre Agassi talking about his dad. And, every other sports person in the world has a coach. Jockeys don't. Jockey doesn't have a coach. He has an agent who books him rides or sorts out different bits of work for him, but you don't have a coach. And I guess I was extremely lucky that I had a coach that I didn't have to pay and that I couldn't fall out with, and it was my dad, and I've been very lucky.
You've been with Willie Mullins since you were 16. Has anything that you've learned in his yard, or perhaps from himself, that makes you the jockey you are today, or perhaps a better jockey?
Yeah, Willie has a very different way of looking at things. He's a very intelligent man. He has very different opinions than I would have, but he has a good way of looking at things. And I guess when somebody asks you something, or you go about do something, whenever you'd ask Willie his opinion, he'll come back to you 24, 48, 72 hours later. He never gives you the opinion that comes into his head or the answer that comes into his head. He thinks about it, looks at it several different ways, and then comes up with the best possible answer. I would have been more like my father, as in the first thing that came into your head came out of your mouth, and it's not often the right thing. So I would definitely think that is something that I have learned from Willie, to be more patient, to maybe look at arguments and decisions you have to make from both sides of the fence, and when you put yourself on the other side, the side you don't want to be on, and look back at a problem, and often you can find a different answer, and that's maybe something Willie's taught me.
Your dad is a well-known commentator for RT Racing. Has he ever said anything that embarrassed you?
Yeah. Yeah, especially I suppose when I started off and I was 12, 13 maybe in school, and his most famous quote when he was watching a mare winning a race in Leopardstown, he comes out and says, "I rode her mother." That went down extremely well, and I got plenty of stick for that in school. But look, I guess when your dad works in the TV, you learn to get a thick skin quicker than you should. But no, I don't think my dad has ever really embarrassed me. I think he's done a lot of things that he'd be very proud of.
You're an avid Manchester United fan, as you were talking on the table. If you were, and your dad actually compared you to a Premier League player before in an interview, if you were a Premier League footballer, who would you be? Now, just to let you know, I have a bet wagered on this. Right, well, I think your answer may be, would you be the quiet workhorse like Paul Scholes? Would you be a poster boy like Cristiano Ronaldo? Or would you be a competitive Roy Keane? I have a lot on this, just to let you know.
Well, I tell you who I definitely wouldn't be. I definitely wouldn't be that nanny anyway. That I guarantee you. I would be Roy Keane.
You just want me a cup of tea.
Yeah, I wouldn't be known for holding my tongue.
You can correct me if I'm wrong. You were one of the first national hunt jockeys that maintained 2 jobs with 2 champion trainers across 2 countries. How did you manage to keep both trainers happy, and how did you manage racing for them on big meetings like Cheltenham and Aintree?
I am the first and I am the only, and I'm not overly sure how I managed to do it. Plenty of politics, probably plenty of listening, not saying a whole lot. I was very privileged. When Paul Nicholls offered me a job to write for him in 2002, it was just after Foot-and-Mouth, 2002. I didn't fancy going to England, but I fancied riding these horses. I didn't really want to give up the job I had at Willie Mullins, and after having a discussion with my dad that lasted about 3 days, we came up with an idea. And the idea was that I would ride in England Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I would ride in Ireland on a Thursday, England Friday and Saturday, and come back to Ireland on a Sunday for the main part of the National Hunt season, which is the 1st of October to the 30th of April, basically. So put the idea to both men. They thought about it and kind of said, yeah, fine. So we started on that basis. A gentleman's agreement with both, 2 handshakes, and we all had to stick by our word. And that's basically how it went. I was as fair as I could be to the 2 of them. They were both very fair with me. At the end of the day, I was occupying 2 jobs, having signed no contract with either. And it was hard work at times. There was politics involved. I guess I learned to read situations when Paul Nicholls would be under pressure from an owner for me to ride a certain horse. I knew I had to ride that horse, whether he was the right one or not. It was taking one for the team. And I guess I learned to play the game, to play the long game and hang in there. There was days I knew going to the start I was on the wrong horse, but in the bigger picture, at the end of the year, I was the winner. And I managed to do it for 10 years. I learned a lot doing it. I enjoyed doing what I did. But last April, I'd pretty much had enough of playing the long game and playing the political game, and I wanted to be my own man.
You mentioned there that you're actually the only jockey that seems to do it. Barry Geraghty's at home crying.
Barry Geraghty works for Nicky Henderson. He's nobody to keep happy in Ireland.
He's just Garrett.
No, but Barry does it as well. He commutes, and I suppose that's something that the Irish government has done for us. That was the biggest reason I didn't go to the UK. I mean, there's a tax incentive for Irish sports people to stay in the Republic of Ireland, and that was the biggest reason I never moved to England full time. That's why I stayed here.
And horse racing is probably one of the only sports that you're going out and there's a high probability that you're going to sustain some type of injury and you have an ambulance following you. Is in that regard, do jockeys have somewhat of an immunity to fear?
I suppose there's a thin line between bravery and stupidity. Some people will argue we're on one side and others will argue we're on the other, but there is a very fine line. it is a risk, and every job has a risk, whatever it is. Our job, it's a physical risk. Yeah, you could get injuries. I've had plenty of them myself. This year's been a particularly bad year for injuries within jockeys. I mean, John Joe Bright in the north of Ireland, who's 19, has suffered paralysis from his neck down, and John Thomas McNamara, who at the end of his career at 37 years of age suffered the same injury at Cheltenham, and they're both paralysed from the neck down, both facing huge tasks to survive, mentally to cope with their injuries, physically to cope with their lives. They have great families and great support networks, but I suppose that does strike you as something that could happen to you. It's always there. It's the laws of averages. It's one in every 250,000 rides. Unfortunately, this year it came up 2 in the 250,000, so you'd be hoping it'll be no more for another 500,000 rides, but that's not the way it works. But I suppose they're the lies you tell yourself. You tell yourself that, yeah, it'll be 500,000 rides before it happens again and I'll be finished. I guess that's the way you deal with it. I mean, there's been terrible days since I started riding. Shane Broderick was paralysed in '97, Kieran Kelly was killed in 2003, Sean Cleary in 2003, Tom Halliday got killed in Market Racing in 2005. It is the reality of being a jockey. It can happen. But I guess this is the fine line that maybe people would say we are stupid. You just think it's not going to be you.
Someone once said that flat jockeys are the jockeys with brains and National Hunt boys have none. Is there any truth in that?
Well, they'd want to have.
That's my phone.
I knew it wasn't mine, so I didn't mind. I think that's a bit unfair. It's definitely unfair because I'm a National Hunt jockey. No, flat jockeys are a different breed. They're smaller people. They suffer from from small man syndrome. They get extremely angry. They are terrific sports people. They struggle more with their weight, but they have a much longer career than jump jockeys. They would get a fall 1 in every 250 rides. I would get a fall 1 in every 15 rides. I have no pity for them. They have longer careers. They earn more money than us, and I'm certainly not going to compliment them.
They call you an Ironman. Just give us a hint of some of your injuries.
Thankfully, I've had some.
Have all day, but
no, well, thankfully, I've had some great surgeons, both Ireland, North, and in the UK. I've been looked after extremely well. I don't have one piece of metal in me. I've broken both my ankles. I've broken my right leg twice, dislocated my left hip, broke my right hip, dislocated both my shoulders, broke both my wrists, broke my right arm and left arm in 3 places, lost my spleen, and I've crushed 3 vertebrae. I don't have any metal. They've all been, I don't know, put back together by good doctors. But the latter years were some of the more serious ones. I had my spleen removed in Cheltenham General Hospital, and they had it out in an hour and sewn back up and had me discharged in 4 days and back riding in 28. I broke my leg in Down Royal. I ended up in Queen's University Hospital on a Saturday night. A brilliant surgeon arrived in on a Sunday morning and fitted me with an Azillarov frame, which I wouldn't have been fitted with in the south because it cost too much. It was put on me in the north, and I was sent home with it, and it probably saved my career in the way it fixed my leg. And I shattered my arm in Aintree, and they strapped me up and got me back to Dublin so my own orthopaedic surgeon could see me. I've been in most places, seen most things, and if I was smashing something, I wouldn't mind being in Belfast. I think they have wonderful surgeons.
are you a good patient?
Of course I am.
Will your wife back that up?
I have that much practice. No, I'm not a good patient. But physical pain goes away very quick. Mental pain doesn't. You're sat at home on the couch, lying in the bed, watching the television, watching people ride horses you should be riding, watching people win on horses you should be winning on. Mental pain for all sports people lasts a lot longer than the physical pain. Physical pain goes away a day, 2 days, and that's everybody in life. And physical pain goes away, mental pain stays with you a lot longer.
England and Ireland are really the only national hunt countries, and you find a lot of stable staff, trainers, and even jockeys move in between the countries. Do you think that the UK perhaps provide better opportunities for young Irish people in the industry?
Yeah, there's just more of it. There's 26 race courses in Ireland, there's 42 in England, there's 3 days racing a week in Ireland in the winter, there's 7 days racing a week in England. There just is more racing, and the more you have, the more opportunities you have. But Irish people excel at horse racing, and they're accepted and known to be that good that they're accepted quite quickly in the UK. If you're Irish, you're accepted as no matter what you do, and you'll get a job in the UK, you'll get chances in the UK. But there doesn't. I suppose sport is different maybe to other walks of life, but there doesn't seem to be a culture thing. In England, you're not seen as Irish. You can ride or you can't. You're English or Irish, it doesn't matter. It's all the one. And that is racing. You go to France, you're treated the very same way. It doesn't seem to matter. I mean, we have staff in Willie Mullins's from England and from the north of Ireland, and they're just seen as staff. Everybody is the same. When you work within horses and you care for horses, you treat for horses, everybody's the same. It doesn't matter where you come from. The opportunities are the same. Everyone's looked after the same.
Can I ask you just 2 questions, if I may? One is, looking back on sport, how important is it to the development of the individual, and how valuable is it to connecting peoples across different traditions and cultures?
I guess sport is universal. It's some people see it as their social outlet, other people see it maybe as a career, and sport unites a lot of people, be it supporters, fans, athletes, whatever it is. Sport unites people. It's great for people's health as well. You can get fit, they'll last longer, cost us all less in medical expenses and tax. Sport is a huge thing, and it can be a great industry too. I mean, you look at when the Heineken Cup matches come to Limerick or come to Dublin or come to Belfast, what they can generate for the economy around them. Same with soccer matches in Glasgow and Manchester, and sport can generate a lot of money and a lot of tourism within each city. And, sport is a huge thing.
And my second question, because I know Michelle has some quick-fire questions for you before we finish, but my second question is, would you say Michelle is the best interviewer you've ever had?
Yeah, definitely. She hasn't caught me out yet. I'm sure she's trying though.
And for those quick-fire questions that you have lined up your sleeve?
What's your favourite race course?
Leopardstown.
The least favourite?
Kilbeggan. I'll shut it down and burn it.
You won my horse in Kilbeggan.
I don't like it. Two more jockeys broke their necks there this year. Kieran Kelly was killed there. I hate it.
Who would play in a movie?
George Clooney.
If you had 4 dinner guests, who would they be?
Dinner guests. I suppose you used to say the obvious, like Nelson Mandela and Margaret Thatcher and whatever else, but dinner's supposed to be fun and that'd be awfully serious. I would probably have Michael Johnson, the athlete. I think he's incredible. I would have Tiger Woods, and I would probably have...
You can say Packy Bonner if you want to.
I've met him a few times, but there's something different. Someone you're not going to meet. Michael Johnson, Tiger Woods. I would probably have Jonah Lomu and Nicole Schwarzinger.
I'm guessing my Peter's laugh would be the same for him. If you weren't a jockey, what do you think would be your day job?
I would love to have been an architect.
Favourite horse?
Papillon, won the Grand National on him in 2000.
Favourite trainer, apart from your dad?
Favourite trainer or most respected?
Greatest trainer.
I've lasted a long time at this job because I don't give those answers, and I ain't starting now. Sit on the fence.
And in your opinion, the greatest ever jockey?
Oh, it's McCoy, Tony McCoy. He's 19 winners as of now, away from riding 4,000, something that will never be achieved again.
Do you reckon if he was asked the same question, he'd say you, or would he say himself?
No, he'd say himself.
Thank you, Ruby Walsh. Thank you, Michelle Duffy.